Bon après-midi, everyone. It's Mathematic Wizard speaking. It has been a while since I was on, and I'm now back in action. Today, I will be making math videos throughout. This video will show all of you how to find slopes or rate of change of given points or equations. Also finding y-intercepts. So let's get started, shall we? Okay. Let's say you had y equals 2x plus 1. And they wanted you to find the slope and y-intercept of this. Well, our slope is basically the coefficient next to the x. In this case, our slope is 2. And the y-intercept is our b, which is 1. So, the y-intercept, or b, equals 1. Now, remember, when you're finding the y-intercept, the ordered pair of that is 0, 1. The y-intercept is when x is 0. So in this case, the y-intercept is 0, 1. You can't just say 1. I mean, a lot of your teachers are going to be specific, so they want you to say 0, 1. Okay, let's try another example. Alright, so, continuing from that last point, let's say we had an equation of y equals 3x minus 5. Sorry, it's a little cracky. And they want you to find the slope. So again, you would do, the slope is the one next to the x. So that would mean that our slope is 3. And our y-intercept is at 0, negative 5. The reason being is because that there's a negative attached to the 5. So you must include that negative with it. 0, negative 5 is your y-intercept. Okay, so far we've been doing equations with the form of y equals mx plus b, and this is kind of algebra and geometry related stuff, those of you who are wondering. Alright, now let's move on to something a little more advanced. Now, there might be a problem that might ask you to find the slope of two given coordinates on a plane. Let's say you had 2, 5, and let's make it, alright, 5, 2. The first thing you'll need to know is that the formula for finding slope is this equation right here. So, I'll read it as follows. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Another way of saying it is the change in y over the change of x. That's why I put this term in brackets before, because it's the rate of change in y over the change of x. So with that being stated, let's go to our problem. So of course we'll start with our y sub 2. Our y sub 2 is 2, if you look at the far right hand side, minus your y1, which is 5, over the left hand side. Now, we're going to go to our x's. These were our y's, and these were our x's. X sub 2 is 5. X sub 1 is 2. And now that you have your numbers, you can now find your slope. And your answer should be negative 1. Reason being is because the negative 5 plus 2 is a negative 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. So 3 divided by negative 3 gives you a negative 1, which is why you should have negative 1 as your slope. So m equals negative 1. Alright, let's try another one. Now, let's say we had 1, negative 1, and 5, negative 10. Sorry, y'all can't see it very well. Okay, so the same logic applies. We'll start with the y's first. Y sub 2 is negative 10. Minus your y sub 1, which is negative 1. All over, now we're going to go to our x's. X sub 2 is 5. Minus your x sub 1, which is 1. So, guys, your slope here, and you can write it as a mixed number if you want, or in a proper fraction, but your slope here would be negative 1 excuse me, negative 2 1/4. And like I said, it's okay to have it like this. Negative 9/4 and negative 2 1/4 are both the same. It doesn't matter. I will take either or. But some people, a majority of people will like writing it improper, and some others will just know based off what they see. But it doesn't matter. As long as you have the correct answer, the same concept of the answer, it'll be fine. Now, the reason why I inserted this plus sign was because you have a negative 10 minus negative 1. A negative negative 1 is a plus 1, which is why this plus sign here was inserted. You have to be careful, because once you have a negative negative, automatically make it a plus sign right away, or else they'll throw off your whole problem. Okay, let's try another one. Alright guys, let's say we had negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3, negative 4. I know, guys. I'm just randomly picking numbers. I know it might look funny, might not, but I'm just picking random numbers. Okay, guys, so same method applies. We're starting with our y's first. Y and y. Y sub 2 is negative 4. And your y sub 1 is a negative 2. Remember what I said about negative negatives. All over x sub 2 is negative 3, and your x sub 1 is your negative 1. So, just do the math, you'll get a half as your slope. Pretty simple, huh? Okay, guys. We are now going to be moving onto something a little more advanced. So just sit tight. Okay. This part of the video, we're gonna have given equations. So let's say we had a given equation of y equals 5x plus 4. Oh, sorry, 5x plus 4. Let me rewrite that. Here we go. And they want us to find a point parallel to this equation with the given point of 1, 5. Now, One thing you have to know about parallel equations. Parallel equations means they have the same slope. So in this case, our new equation has to have a slope of 5, just like this one. Parallel means you have to have the same slope. Okay guys, so now, the way we're going to do this is the same way. We're going to plug this into the slope-intercept formula, which again, it's y equals mx plus b. So our y is 5, we're going to set y equal to 5, equals our slope of our slope of 5, because remember it has to be the same, our 1x, and then the b is what we have to find. So in this case, we have no y-intercept because 5 equals 5 plus 0. So you already know that your 0 equals b. So that means the equation parallel to 5x plus 4 equals y through the point of 1, 5, it's going to be y equals 5x. Now guys, there's something you must know. Equations without the y-intercept are called direct variations. Yes, and if you all haven't known that, I'm telling you now. There are equations without y-intercepts. They're called direct or indirect variations, that meaning that if it's stationary, like no y-intercept, it's not tilting or anything. Well, it's gonna tilt, but yeah, basically, if nothing has a y-intercept at the end of that, it's just direct or indirect based on what a problem is giving you. Okay, guys, let's try another one. Okay, let's say we had y equals 10x minus 5 parallel with the given points of 2, 5. So again, we plug in our 5 in for y. So 5 equals, remember, parallel means same slope. So we're going to put in 10 for m. Our x value is 2 plus b. That's what we're trying to find. So in this case, our b is going to be negative 15. 5 equals 20 plus b, and if you were to just work it out, you could already see that negative 15 is the answer, because if you were to subtract 20 on both sides, negative 15 equals your b. So that means your y-intercept of negative 15 gets plugged into the new equation of y equals, sorry, I'm running out of room here, let me fix that up. So that y-intercept from negative 15 gets plugged into the new equation of y equals 10x minus 15 through the point of 2, 5 parallel to the given equation up top. Sorry, gotta rewrite that. There. Good. Now see how we keep our slopes the same? It doesn't change, because remember, parallel. We have to find it parallel to it. That means same slope. It doesn't change. If it does change, then you did something wrong. Remember, parallel in algebra and geometry means linear equations with the same slopes. Okay, guys. That's all for a parallel. Now we're going to move on to something different. Mind what y'all just saw from there. So now we're going to move on to another topic, but we're still going to be doing the same thing. Now let's say you had y equals 2x minus 10 perpendicular to the given points of 2, -5. Now, we're going to be doing the same process. So, y is -5, so we plug that in for the y. -5 equals. Now, here it gets different. Lines with perpendicular slopes have opposite multiplicative inverses. So the opposite multiplicative inverse of 2 is -1/2. So -1/2, our x is 2, and we have to find our b. So you already know that -1/2 of 2 is -1, so you can simply know that our b is -4. So -4 will be equal to our y-intercept. And again, if you just straightforward know it, you can go ahead and do it, but if you're still a little stuck, then you can go ahead and work it out. So -5 equals -1 plus b, and then from there, if you still are quite uncertain, just add 1 to both sides. -4 equals b, and that is a y-intercept. Okay, now remember, all this gets plugged into our new equation, perpendicular to this one. So, remember, it has to be perpendicular. So, the new equation is y equals -1/2. Sorry, I don't know why. Sorry, guys. Y equals -1/2 x minus 4. I'm going to write that horizontal for y'all to see that. Y equals -1/2 x minus 4. And hopefully y'all can see it better. I'm sorry I had to write it that way, but yeah, working it out for y'all is the best way y'all can understand it. And that is my job here. I'm gonna take y'all up to your maximum. And that's what we're going to do. So let's wrap this up with one more perpendicular problem. Just sit tight and you'll just be relieved that you had this. Okay, so now let's say we had y equals -2x plus 11 perpendicular with the given points of, let's make it -3, -5. Oh my god. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay. -3, -5. So again, perpendicular slopes means opposite multiplicative inverses, known as opposite reciprocals. So, again, -5 is our y equals, remember this opposite multiplicative inverse of -2 is 1/2, so 1/2, our x is -3, and we have to find our b. Okay guys, so all you do is multiply -1/2, multiply 1/2 times -3, that'll give you -1 1/2, Or if you want to, you can write it as negative 3 halves and plus your b. Alright, let's work it out. So, negative 1.5 plus b. Now guys, if you want to, if you ever end up stuck in a situation like this, here's what you do. You can rewrite negative 5 as an improper fraction over 2. So in this case, you can do this. That's simple, huh? Okay, so now it should be easier. So you have negative 10 halves equals negative 3 halves, or negative 1.5 plus b. So your y-intercept would be negative 3.5, which is the same as negative 7 halves. Yeah, don't multiply, guys. Don't multiply. Don't multiply. I'm just showing you another way. Parentheses is another. Yeah, I'm showing you what the same way to rewrite negative 3.5 is. Don't get confused. Don't get confused. So, this is another way to write this. That's all I'm showing y'all. Don't get confused. I know I did that, but sorry. Don't get confused. Okay, so now that you have your negative 3.5 as your y-intercept, we can now rewrite our new equation perpendicular to y equals negative 2x plus 11. And that is y equals a half x minus 7 halves. Or if you want to, minus 3.5. It doesn't matter. Alright. Okay guys, well I hope you liked this video. And if it's your first time watching this, please like, subscribe, and comment. You can comment in the section below, and I will try to do my very best to get back to you. And I look forward to seeing what you've learned. Thank you very much. I am out.